This is going to be probably a kind of short video. Nothing really extra, but it's something I made as an observation. Now, here is a face that y'all have not seen grace your screen in quite some time. The last time I spoke on Micah Johnson was when I did my Black Heroes Month theme back in February earlier this year. So it's been almost a year since I've talked about him. But the first time I actually did talk about him was after the events occurred involving him 2 years ago, back in 2016, when he did what he did in Dallas. So I feel like I don't have to rehash what he did. We all know what he did. However, if you bring that up in certain circles to certain people and you know who I'm talking about, it'll probably be a nightmare for them. Same thing if you was to bring up, say, Gavin Long and Christopher Dorner and OJ Simpson. I'm just playing. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is because it's an observation that I made, and I think I'm one of the few people, and I'm not going to say that I'm the only person, but I think I'm one of the few people that noticed this. So when I'm sorry, not Gavin, when Micah Johnson did what he did, there was a lot of, I guess you can say, pomp and circumstance coming from the black community, because they were saying finally somebody who was fed up with the bullshit from police brutality of them doing what they're doing and getting away with it within no accountability being held on their hands. That was one angle. But the thing that I want to talk about is how Micah Johnson had to quickly, in his manifesto, had to quickly come out and say that he is not a part of Black Lives Matter. Now, you're probably wondering where I'm going with this. The reason why I say this is because, whenever a black person rebels against a system, especially today and after the Black Lives Matter thing got started, they have to denounce, a lot of them have to denounce themselves as being a part of it, because they know that uh, the white society, or those who think like that, are going to quickly say, oh, he was a part of this, he was a part of that, which is exactly what they did. They were quick to say that he was a part of this, that, and the third. They did the same thing with Gavin Long, and they did the same thing with Darren Seals. Now, Darren Seals didn't do what Micah Johnson and Gavin Long did, but he was rebelling against the establishment. And I truly believe, and y'all do as well, that he was killed. There's no way you can tell me that this guy just sat in a car and just lit himself on fire and had gunshot wounds to the head. There's no way that that could possibly happen. He was killed, and then he was put in the car, and then someone set the car on fire. Someone wanted him gone, but the rumors swirled around on Twitter so fast uh that he was a part of Black Lives Matter, but they had to quickly come and put those to rest. Because see, the thing is, every time a black person like a Darren Seals or a Gavin Long or a Micah Johnson rebels against the establishment, they have to put out there that they are part of these organizations, just so they can label it a terrorist group. Because they wanted to label Black Lives Matter a terrorist group for the longest, and and some of them still do, even though like the Southern Poverty Law Center will not label them as such. Now, the bigger point I wanted to make as this is concerned is that you had the Caesar Sayoc, Robert Bowers, and Gregory Allen Bush. Well, more so, I'm gonna focus more so on the first two, not so much Gregory Allen Bush, but you can kind of throw him in there. But I really want to focus on the first two. Caesar Sayoc had a van that had pictures and quotes from Donald Trump, and with people who opposed Donald Trump with crosshairs on them, like he was going to target them, who sent bombs to all of these political figures and well-known people who spoke out against Donald Trump and most likely were Democrat affiliated. You had Robert Bowers, who shot up a synagogue and killed 11 people and injured many others who were quote unquote Jewish. And he was a Trump supporter as well. All three of them, especially those two I'm talking about, were taken in alive. Micah Johnson was killed. But the bigger point I want to say is that these guys right here expressed how they felt and who they were supporting. And no one pushed this thing saying, oh, we know that they're a Trump supporter and that's why they did it. No, instead what they said was, "Oh, this is lame. This is mainstream media or the leftist media cooking up something against us to try and push some kind of a narrative that it's our fault or it's Donald Trump's fault as to why they're doing what they're doing." So y'all see what angle that they're going with? They know that these guys were a part or affiliated with these organizations or a Donald Trump supporter, but they try to deflect and put it on and shift the blame elsewhere. Whereas Michael Johnson denounced that he was not a part of Black Lives Matter. He was doing that to not only, protect himself because he said I was acting alone, but he was also in a way protecting the image of that organization because he knew that they would come out and say that he's a part of that group. Because see, now what goes on is every time, like I said, a black person does something to rebel against the establishment, they're always going to label them or attach them to Black Lives Matter every time because they want them to be a hate group so badly. They want them to be a terrorist affiliated group so badly. So that's why they're going to attach them to such things. Now, notice that nobody who's a part of Black Lives Matter has committed any of the atrocities that have occurred since they got started. No mass shootings, no bomb threats, no none of that. All of those people can be led back to the racist, conservative bigots, whether they came before Trump or after Trump. But right now, we're talking about what's going on with during Trump. But if you want to talk about it before, we can talk about Dylan Roof. That that happened before Trump, but let's be real. He most likely would have been a Trump supporter. It probably is. He couldn't vote, but he most likely is. But that's pretty much the point that I wanted to make. So to sum it up, they are willing to turn a blind eye to the people who did what they just recently did and not label them as a so-and-so supporter, even though it proves that they are, especially Cesar Sayoc. But people like Micah Johnson denounced Black Lives Matter and why he did what he did. And one last thing, a lot of people don't realize that Micah Johnson, like Gavin Long and Christopher Dorner, have military background. Now I know a lot of black people don't like the military and things of that nature, but I said a lot of y'all don't like the military, but y'all like Mike Johnson, Gavin Long, Christopher Dorner, and all three of them had a military background, and they could not have done what they did without it. So I saw what they did. They got the lessons and got the training from them, and then they turned it back onto them. Now, I'm not saying this to make it sound like you should be like a military recruit or anything, but just something to take into consideration. They got the training. So all I'm saying is this: if y'all don't want to go into the military, get the training from a trusted military vet so you can be prepared if some shit actually pops off. Because let's be real here, I don't think many black people are that prepared on multiple levels. And I'm not just talking about in combat, but in also in multiple other things. I'm guilty of that myself. But I do know this. I do know some people that are in the military. So if I needed to call somebody to like help me with something, I would know who to call. Y'all let me know what you think down in the comments. Like, share, subscribe. The links will be in the description. I'll talk to you in the next one.